For our episode number 50, we wanted to make something special to, in a way, say thank you to our community.
That question was clearly very good because it also cleared it up for me, and I've been listening about this for 50 episodes and I still was confused. So there you go, for the question whether I'm an archaeologist or not.
In that museum of Praia, I assume. But the original astrolabe is in the Mariners Museum in Virginia in the United States.
This is relating to a question from the episode of a wreck inside a cave.
Yeah, from the Pasapao.
That collaboration with museums or creation of museums is kind of mandatory or expected when you get allowed to work in those countries?
Yes, in general terms, yes. Hello everyone and welcome to Underwater Adventures with Alex Mirabal. Today we will have a very special episode because it's our episode number 50 and we wanted to make something special for you. So let's dive into it. For our episode number 50, we wanted to make something special to, in a way, say thank you to our community that has been growing steadily. When we started the channel, I was in doubt that we could make so many episodes, like 50, it sounds like a lot. Maria was confident, I wasn't. And here we are in the episode 50. She was right, and I'm glad for that. And as a way of saying thank you to our community, we wanted to select most of the questions that you have made in the channel or privately to us and answer them here. Some of these questions, because I have been checking the comments all the time, some of these questions have been partially answered in the comment section of the YouTube channel, but I would like to make a better and bigger answer for the people who are interested in certain aspects. We have a very interested community. You guys that watch our videos are obviously interested in the subject, and you have several questions. So today we have a selection of questions. This probably will be more than one episode of questions and answers because I have plenty of questions, so that this video will generate more questions. Answers or incomplete answers will generate more questions. I'm going more into detail. That will be all great. So if you feel during the video that there will be more questions that you would like to see answered in a video with more explanation, please let me know in the comment section. Just write it down. There is no simple or stupid question. Every question is important. Yeah, it's important because sometimes people think, okay, I am not a specialist in this field. Most probably what I will ask is so basic. Yes, it's good because nobody is born knowing everything. So in the learning curve that life is, we all need to ask questions.
And I think that, as you very well explain in every video, that the job that you do is to keep furthering humans' knowledge and information and education. And I think also part of the motivation that we had as a team to create the channel was to create exactly that, an exchange of information as well. So the more we incentivate, or you guys get motivated to ask some questions in the comment section, the more we can also exchange knowledge, and we can also learn something from you guys. So please feel free and take this as inspiration, if you will.
Yeah, the more questions I have to answer, the better, because it's a very good way to lead my narrative, my episodes, because sometimes I get lost in what I'm saying, I get tangled in different aspects, and maybe they are not the ones that you are more interested in. So let us know, and we gladly do it. So we can start with the questions. Maria, you will read the questions and let's try to answer them all.
Let's jump into it. So first we have a question that was in Spanish. I'm going to read it in English, but here it goes. Has it happened that fishermen hide the exact location of a wreck, fearing that you would take away a form of income for them?
Yes, I remember that question. The answer is yes and no. Normally, we have a very good relationship with fishermen in the different countries and the different areas we work. And in some places where the fishermen have identified that the shipwrecks could be a sort of income for them, meaning in places where there is a large black market or there are ways to sell artifacts from a shipwreck in a non-official way, that
And fairly
yes,
easy,
that
I assume. There are countries that must be easier to have a black market
there
than
is. In
others.
those countries, yes, fishermen have identified shipwrecks as a source of income, and they are a little bit more careful in the moment of sharing that information with you. The solution for this in all other places is quite simple, is quite straightforward, the conversation and you get the information. But the best solution for that is the exchange of knowledge, is in a way educating the fishermen, which is not their job to mess with shipwrecks. The best way we have found to solve this is to inform the fishermen about what are they finding and what is the importance of what they are finding, and also to demystify a little bit this idea, this general idea, not only fishermen, but almost everyone has, that if you find something in the seabed that is 300, 400 years old, or if it's gold, or if it's silver, that will immediately make you rich. This is something that you have to communicate to the people who work in the sea, and that they have opportunities to come across shipwrecks or important shipwrecks sometimes, like also recreational divers and dive schools, that these are artifacts and these are sites, the shipwrecks are sites that contain a lot of historical and archaeological information that is the most valuable that the shipwreck has. Sometimes people think that just one coin or just being gold or silver will change their life. It's not like that. So knowing this, it may also prevent a bit of people innocently touching and trying to get stuff to sell later on and be in a better financial position. That doesn't happen. So this has been the way that we have found, talking to the fishermen and every worker in the sea or people who frequent the sea, of how to diminish that situation. But in general terms, our communication and cooperation with the fishermen is very good. We go much further than informing one to another about shipwrecks or fishing spots, because this is another thing. In the explorations, we go through large areas and sometimes we come across great fishing spots that they don't know. So we also tell them, go here. There was plenty of fish this morning. You can go and do your job there. So in general, it's a very good relationship. And yes, that's what I said. The answer is yes and no, because there are few places in which it's a little bit more sensitive, this subject. But in general, it's a very good cooperation.
Nice. So another question we got was, I have a question. What does your team do with all the objects recovered from those shipwrecks?
Okay, it is very simple. My team, what we have to do is to find the shipwrecks, recover the artifacts, register them, conserve the artifacts, and pass it to the government of the country in which we are working. That is the process we follow with the artifacts. So it's not really in our hands to decide what to do with the artifacts. We have to technically follow the protocols and the methodology to get the artifacts stable after all the process, from recovering them to displaying them in a museum or something, and then we pass it on to the government with the database and everything. Obviously, most of the government that we have worked around the world, after that, they ask us for advice on what is more important and which must be mandatorily put in display in a museum. Okay, we gladly do that as well, but our responsibility over the artifacts is still the point in which we deliver it to the government.
A lot of symbiotic relationships in archaeology, from what I hear. Another question from one of our subscribers. Hi Alex, gracias for your excellent work, but I have a question that thousands would like to know. Where are all these items recovered from the wreck, and are they on display in Cape Verde? This is relating to a question from the episode of a wreck inside a cave.
Yes, this is from the Pasapao. We know it as a Pasapao wreck. The episode is a wreck inside the cave. Well, all the objects, all the artifacts recovered from that wreck, a sample of that is in the museum in Cape Verde. There is an archaeological museum that is called Núcleo Museológico de Praia, because it's in Ciudad de Praia, the capital of Cape Verde in the island of Santiago. We helped there also building what it was first our conservation center. Then it turned into a museum, in a place that people can go and see the pieces on display with the explanation, what is each thing. Obviously, not all the objects or not all the artifacts are on display because of museum criteria, I assume.
Yeah, and the sheer amount.
And this wreck in particular, it had some repetitive artifacts, like I think they were somewhere around 3,500 silver coins. Obviously, this will not be on display, all of them. There will be the better samples of these coins will be on display. There are many of these beautiful artifacts we found there are on display. I have had the chance after many years to go through there and check that the exhibition is very nice, with exception of the astrolabe that I talked in that wreck, which was unique and coated in silver, which makes it unique. This is the only astrolabe that has been found coated in silver. That artifact was bought by the Mariners Museum of Virginia in the United States and is on display there. That one is not in Cape Verde. A replica stayed in Cape Verde and is in that museum of Praia, I assume. But the original astrolabe is in the Mariners Museum in Virginia in the United States.
Would it be fair to make a little bit the assumption that sometimes, as part of the collaboration and the acceptance of having the company work in each country or each area, that collaboration with museums or creation of museums is kind of mandatory or expected when you get allowed to work in those countries?
Yes, in general terms, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do as a practice every time that we start working in a country is either help creating or creating from scratch.
Assisting.
Let's say a conservation center, most of the times that is not something that exists. A conservation center for artifacts coming from marine environments. Most of the countries have obviously conservation facilities to conserve art and antiquities, but not coming from the sea. So we either have to help in adapting that or making one. And the same for the display facilities like museums or showrooms or a place, because we have been always firm believers that the underwater cultural heritage that you recover from the sea in a certain area, where it should go is in display in that area. Because we know, instead of going straight to the capital of the country, for instance, if you are working in a very isolated or very far away place in one country and you find a beautiful cargo of, let's say, Chinese porcelain, like the case in Mozambique with the espadarte. If we take that porcelain, we conserve the porcelain, we stabilize the porcelain, and we send it all the way to Maputo, the capital, 2,000 kilometers away, the community and the people from the island of Mozambique, where the shipwreck was, they get very little benefit from that. So the idea is always trying to create these sort of museums and doing it the closest you can to the place where the shipwreck is. So yes, this is something we do frequently.
Nice. Thank you so much for answering me, but let me focus on the subscriber questions. I'm not here to be asking questions.
Then you subscribe.
Yeah, then I should subscribe and leave it in the comments. So, next question. Who is this young woman in your videos? Is she an archaeologist? Should I let you answer that, or should I answer that?
I will start answering, then you can continue with the answer. Well, this is obviously a question that has been made to me a couple of times, or more than a couple of times. And it was in the very beginning, what I haven't said yet so many times, that Maria is my daughter. She was the one who came up with the idea of the YouTube channel to do this. She's like like the boss of the channel. And I have been saying it in some videos. Obviously, these questions are a little bit old. Or in the beginning, where we didn't say it, I think we didn't point it out, or did we?
We said it in the first episode, but I wasn't on camera. I wasn't interacting, even speaking. I wasn't even voice over. I was really not present at all. But we introduced me in a way that it's harder for people to register it. And it makes sense. The channel is about you and your life. So some people might have missed that little piece of
And
information.
that's where the question comes from. Actually, the second part of the question, it really makes me proud, because there is, it does make me proud, because the fact that people are asking me, is she an archaeologist? It's really rewarding for me, because of course, she's my daughter. I talk a lot about work at home. So everyone in my family have been
flooded and forced into this industry.
With information, with information and with stories and with the analysis. So obviously they are more familiar to underwater archaeology than most of the people who has other areas. But no, she's not an archaeologist of graduation. I think in a very short while she could be aspiring, because she's getting better and better in this.
That's very, 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 very sweet of you, and probably very, very, very offensive to the people that take many years studying this.
Okay.
But
I'm not saying that you are an archaeologist.
But yeah, thank you. That's very sweet. I find a lot of interest in your industry and in your work, honestly, since always. The thing is, I just wasn't as involved because I studied business, for example, business and politics. I worked in the corporate world and the tech world and startups. So I wasn't included in the sciences at all as a discipline for what I studied, is what I'm meaning to say. So I take it as a big, big compliment. I know very, very little from you, but what better source to learn than an actual proper archaeologist, than, if I may say so myself, very accomplished. So yeah, no, I'm his daughter and I am not an archaeologist. I'm just an enthusiast. And I really think that your work is worth being shared. So that was the main motivation, and for you to have some sort of legacy of what you've been doing. And I think that we are doing a fun job at it, for sure.
I agree with that, with everything.
Next question. Swift change in topics. What model is that brown yellow detector in your videos?
Yeah, well, I knew since the very moment that we started doing the channel, there is a lot of people who love metal detection, metal detectors, and I knew that metal detectors will be always a subject in which people will ask. And yes, funny enough, this round yellow detector in my videos that shows up a lot. I said funny enough because this is a model of metal detector made by a very small, maybe I shouldn't say very small, but certainly a small British company that is called ELSEC. And they are since many years making metal detectors and magnetometers. They do some electronic equipment. And since we were working in Cuba, I'm talking about now a good 20-some years ago, probably 30 years ago, we got some of these detectors. I liked them so much that I started working in other countries, in Cape Verde, Mozambique, and Indonesia, and I started trying to get this same model, because the metal detector is something, I think I have explained it, the metal detector is something that gets very personal. It's a tool that gets very personal, and you feel comfortable with one model or with one metal detector in particular, and you use it. You use it and you don't want to change. It's like your mask. I use my mask. It has almost 30 years as well, because it's the mask I like, and I've been trying to find the same model to replace it. I have found it, obviously, to replace it if mine breaks, and I will be able to replace it by the same one. With this metal detector, I did the same for many years. Now, probably 10 years ago, they stopped producing that model. They upgraded it to a new model. This model that I'm talking, the one that you are asking, is the LSEC 2000. Then they came up with the newer and I think technically better model, which is the LSEC 5000. It is smaller, it is much more practical, but I tried it. I didn't like it as much as the first model. So from then on, I have been changing. You will see other metal detectors in my videos as well. But yes, I agree that the round yellow thing that I use in most of the...
And I think you can blame me for that, because I might have selected subconsciously those video shots also for shorts and things like that, because the yellow is brought out in the blue under the water. I mean, it might have been something as simple as like, this looks cuter for the video
Well,
than the
okay.
other, to be very honest, guys.
This may be another reason, but it's true. I mean, it would be very difficult for you in editing to take the yellow metal detector out of the videos, because I am with that
Zero.
metal detector most of the shots. So anyway,
It's everywhere in all the shots.
So yes, the model is an LSEC 2000. They don't make it anymore, so it's not a viable. I still have a couple of them which are little pieces that needs to be replaced. There is not something that you will find, unfortunately, because still is the one I like the most. So I think it's answer right.
Next question. What is better, a magnetometer or a metal detector?
Well, both are better. They are different. Yeah, they are different tools. You cannot compare them because they don't serve the same purpose. The magnetometer, it's meant to read the strength of the magnetic field of the Earth in each point. That will give you information if there is a ferromagnetic object on the seabed, that this is where we work, and that will distort that magnetic field. The metal detector, on the other side, it is meant to identify if there are metals in the ground due to their capacity of conductivity, to conduct the current. So there are two different things. It's like, I would say, the difference between, for maritime archaeology, is the difference between a magnifying glass and a microscope. The magnetometer in maritime archaeology will help you in exploring large areas to find a wreck, for instance. They will have anchors and cannons and a lot of ferromagnetic material. And once you find the wreck, the metal detector will be the microscope, and it will be the one that within the wreck you will be able to locate artifacts. To put it simple, in the field of maritime archaeology, because they are used in many other fields as well.
I think that's a great analogy, is the macro and the micro. One is able to read the malformations or the differences in the seabed, and the other one is able to be a little bit more narrow on the type of changes in the seabed, whether they are metal or not.
Well,
right?
there must be metals. They have to conduct the electricity for the metal detector. The main difference between the magnetometer and the metal detector that people are more interested in knowing is that the magnetometer will only detect, or will only give you information of ferromagnetic objects, meaning iron, steel, and the metal detector will detect any metal, all of them.
That question was clearly very good, because it also cleared it up for me, and I've been listening about this for 50 episodes and I still was confused. So there you go, for the question whether I'm an archaeologist or not. Next question. Why do you make your videos in English? Will you make them in Spanish as well?
Well, that's a question I get a lot. I think every friend of mine have asked me that. Let me try to get a feasible answer for that. Although I started my career in Cuba, and my first years of developing as a maritime archaeologist and working in the first shipwrecks was in Cuba, and obviously in Spanish, and my native language is Spanish. Most of my career I have done it outside of Cuba, in different countries, working in an international team which the working language is English. So, believe it or not, many of the technical terms that we use in archaeology, I simply learned them in English first. And that makes it somehow, not for the conversation. For the conversation, obviously, I would feel more comfortable talking in Spanish than in English. But when I refer to the technical part of my work, I feel a little bit more comfortable with the English. That is one, let's say, a general answer. Then also is the matter of of time. We have been considering to make some episodes in Spanish. We want to record some episodes in Spanish because also we consider that is good for the Spanish-speaking community that we have in our channel, that it will be more comfortable for them also to see the episodes instead of reading the subtitles, that it takes so much time for me to make them so people can understand. But the main issue here is the time. As most of you know, this is not our job. We do this aside of what we do, our projects and everything. So in the beginning, when we make our plan to put out one episode every Thursday, I, again, erroneously thought, okay, it wouldn't be that complicated. One episode a week on Thursdays, we have enough time. Well, it has proven differently because it is really time consuming for us. It is, because also every time we want to make the episodes with a little bit of a better quality, so grow into the episodes and give them better for you. And now when we are seriously considering start making some of the episodes in Spanish, we are faced with the time issue. Would we be able to make 2 episodes a week, even if now with 1 episode a week we are a little bit tight with the time? Well, we will see that. I promise we will also be recording some episodes in Spanish. I really hope that that for you will be a good thing. It's still something we need to prepare better so we can keep on releasing at least 1 episode a week. Our idea will be to release 2 episodes a week, but we have to get there. But I promise we will do it.
Yeah, and I think that this is a good opportunity also for me to help you out with this question. It's also a little bit of me, guys. As we also explain in one of the questions, this is not what I studied. I studied business, so I also didn't study editing or anything creative like that. So this is all learned by doing, and it takes me a little bit longer. It's not like I have hired an editor or somebody to help us plan the content. So this is all in-house and made by the family. So yeah, it plays a part on why we're not able to deliver 2 videos a week just yet. But bear with me because I'm trying really hard, and I think that we will soon enough.
We will. I mean, that's the plan. That's the plan. We are working on that.
And then last but not least, of all the questions that we have answered today from our subscribers, do you keep some of the artifacts for yourself as a souvenir?
Well, I have been asked that since ever.
Yeah, by me even.
Since any person knows what I do and the type of work I do, almost every time the first question is, and where are the artifacts? Do you keep anything? Do you keep stuff?
And where is your gold?
Do you keep stuff with you? Well, no, I don't keep any artifact.
Obviously not.
I have never kept any artifact for me. First, because it's not correct for me to keep an artifact, because those artifacts, in the way I work, they don't belong to me. The artifacts...
Same. First and foremost, morally kind of tricky.
I can't keep an artifact. The artifacts are not mine. I cannot decide.
That's stealing,
exactly.
guys.
I cannot decide over the artifacts. I know there are companies and there are groups and institutions and people who have different type of licenses and agreements with governments, and they are able to keep artifacts. I don't. I don't do that. And also because from the personal point of view, it's a temptation I don't want to have. If you start keeping, let's say, a souvenir from each wreck, then you will go, I have dived many wrecks. So I would have already a collection of underwater cultural heritage that doesn't belong to me. And that is something since the very beginning, I was very clear in my head that I wouldn't do that. I am not against that. I don't criticize people who legally, and because they love these artifacts, they... legally. And they own artifacts. Good for them. I'm very glad. But not me. I don't have artifacts at home. I mean, I am one of the people that you can visit in my house, and you buy my house, you will never know what I do. I don't have my house full of, antique artifacts from shipwrecks or wetsuits or masks and fins. No, I don't do that, and I have never kept any souvenir.
I also don't think Mom would be okay with the tanks and fins women's decoration in the
No,
house. Okay.
that doesn't make part of her concept of decoration of the house. Certainly not. Not even
No,
for
that's
me. I wouldn't like a house like that as well for my side. I enjoy when I visit
no,
people who do that, but I don't.
no judgment to
No,
those
no,
who
of
do,
course
but
not.
no
But
thanks.
seriously, answer the question. I have never kept any artifacts. I don't have those sort of souvenirs. I mean, I'm talking about the physical artifact, the artifact itself. I have kept records of all the artifacts I have found and my team has found. I have
course.
them all, photographs in the database, in descriptions, in drawings. I have them all. If I need to revisit an artifact for a certain reason or research, I'm able to do it because I have all in my computer and all in my hard drives.
Yeah, and there's no need to have the actual physical item.
When it's needed, then you have to go to the
Go to the
owner,
museum or to the
to
conservation
the owner
center.
that has it, and it makes it a little bit more complicated. But otherwise, I would have to have all the artifacts with me so I could make a better research. No, I haven't kept any artifact as a souvenir. So that was the last question.
And that is all for all the questions that we have for this episode. We will be making other episodes with more questions, but yeah, that's it for today.
Lovely. Okay, this was a special episode. It was a little bit different, but it was also very fun to shoot. We have had a good time, Maria and I, reading the questions and mainly
100%.
answering them. But we wanted to do this special for our community, for the people who watch the videos. If you want your question to be answered in another video, please leave it in the comment section. As you know, we read the comments all the time. And if you want your question to be answered, just leave it in the comment section. We will be putting them together and make another video like this one.
Totally.
And it will most certainly be selected within the questions. Maybe not in the next video, maybe in the next one, because there are plenty of questions. I tell you, there are plenty of questions. Some of them very specific and very technical, and some of them a little bit more broad that we can answer them all. So if you like the video, please leave it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet, and let's keep on diving.